because it did ping and it went off and you got
Behind the cover, yeah.
dismembered, decapitated. It's probably because you're trying to hide something and make sure certain details don't come out.
Tend to Life with Elise starts right now.
Hey everybody, thank you for being so patient with me. I've been working all day and I've had meetings all day, so this was the soonest that I was able to get on here and share the new information with you guys. For those of you who are brand new, my name is Elise, and this is where we talk all things true crime. I have a regular 9-to-5 job, but I am very passionate about true crime and cases that involve young children as victims because I believe we all need to be their voice in finding justice. So that is a little bit of color as to why it is I do what I do. Now, I want to just kind of start by, before we jump right in, like you, I'm sure most of you feel this way. Yeah. Like you, I haven't really been sleeping. This case has been weighing very heavily on me. I've been trying to turn over every single stone I can, research whatever I can, get in touch with whoever I can. And also, like you, I'm sure that you're very frustrated that there isn't more information out there, that people close to the parents aren't sharing what they know or when they last saw the kids. It's all very frustrating. I understand that there needs to be a sense of confidentiality and privacy with certain details so as to not impede on the investigation. However, I do think that we can all agree it's a little frustrating that more information has not yet been discovered and that a lot of the information out there, such as the footage and certain tips and things like that, are allegedly and apparently falling on deaf ears with the police department because they're saying that they either are unaware of these things or there's now what I have heard as of today with the PI, Bill Garcia, he's now no longer working the case because he was threatened by the police department. So it's all very discouraging and very frustrating. I want to just kind of, before I go through the list of everything we're going to cover today, because there is a lot of new information, as I sat with this last night and this morning and increasingly became frustrated, there were a couple of things that weren't sitting right with me. The number one driving force was a Venmo exchange that I saw, and I'm going to pull that up for you just really quick, and I'm sure many of you have seen it, but just in case. And this is Trezell West Venmo activity. And what stood out to me with this are all of the different payments for the loan. The reason why this stood out to me, and we see it over the course of, once, twice, a month. The reason that this stood out to me is because I myself recently moved from New York to California and purchased my first home. And I am very familiar with the home buying process. And never in a million years would you be paying for a loan through Venmo. So this piqued my curiosity, and that's where I started to do a little digging, and it opened the door to a lot of other avenues. With that, one of the main things I started thinking about was, hey, they moved to Cal City just a few months ago. I recently bought a home. I know what that entails and how many relationships you build during that process and how many people are personally involved in the property. I need to reach out and see what I can come up with. So I started by really going from the very bottom of this. I started looking into what mortgage company and loan processor was involved, the realtors involved, the home inspection, because I wanted to reach out to all of those people to see when the last reported sighting was, what the behavior was, what the financials were. I wanted to talk to whoever did the home inspection to see if the fireplace was in fact in working order, because if the fireplace isn't in working order, we know that story of collecting firewood and all that goes right out the window. There's been a lot of talk of trapdoors, secret rooms in the garage and attached to the house. So I wanted to, again, home inspection reports are very thorough. I wanted to see what I could determine from all of this information. So I really just kind of went to town with it and started reaching out and really just trying to figure out who would be willing to speak with me if reporters or law enforcement have contacted any of these people yet, which they haven't, and I can't understand why not. And before anybody gets upset by this, I want to let you know that all of this information that I have collected has been passed over to law enforcement. So it's not like I'm just here spitting it on YouTube. It's been forwarded to the proper channels, and I was not advised to keep anything confidential. So here we are. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of break down what we're going to go through today. And then as we go through each of these big line headers, we will talk in a lot of detail. So we're first going to talk about the income and the finances. And I know there's been a lot of conversation as far as, okay, what does Trezell do for work? He has it listed on his social media as entrepreneur, musician. What does Jackie do for work? What were their finances? Were they solely dependent on this money from fostering these children and what that looks like? We're also going to talk about why they decided to move to Cal City and certain disclosures that were made and statements that were made as to why this decision was made. And you tell me what you think when I share these with you. We're going to talk a lot about, too, as I was in this kind of quest for information, I've been on the phone all morning with different people, and one of the key pieces of information that I had discovered was a relationship, personal, not romantic, and friendship and bond that happened with one of these women who was helping him in this move. And we're going to go into a little bit more detail about that. But because they had developed such a close bond and friendship, he released a lot of information to her. They had multiple conversations, almost daily phone conversations, it's reported, many in-person meetings at the office, and they became friends. And so we're going to talk about what was shared with that friendship as well. With that, we're going to talk about one of the more alarming comments that he made to her that she says she didn't even realize was odd until the conversation that she and I were having this morning, and we'll get to that. He also called her a little over a week ago. They had a 15-minute phone conversation about everything that's going on, and we're going to talk about what took place in that conversation. We're also going to talk about why the house is boarded up, because I know there are a lot of rumors going around about that, and we're going to talk about who boarded it up. We're going to talk about more of the property info, mainly from the home inspection lens, and I have a lot of those photos that were shared with me that I was given those files to where I will screen share with you, and we will go through those because to my eye, I am not seeing any such thing as a hidden room, split into two rooms, different doors leading somewhere else, because when I look at the interior, the exterior, and the garages, you can account for all of the doors, but we're going to go through all of those together. A lot of images of the exterior as well, where the boys were reported to have been playing with chalk. And again, this is move-in condition. So these photos were taken right before they took ownership of the property. So if there were previous trap doors, fake doors, whatever it may be, those would have been indicated in these photos, unless, of course, something else was built later on. We're going to talk about what I had mentioned regarding the fireplace and if that was in working order, and then what the unknown last sightings of the boys were. And I want to be clear with that because it has still not been pinpointed what that date was when they were last seen. And we'll start to go into more detail about that as we break down these talking points. So, and I apologize, I'm not really monitoring the chat right now. I will try to intermittently, but I'm obviously trying to stay focused on what it is we are here to discuss. So let's start with the finances and the income portion of it. As I was speaking with one of these contacts who knows him very well and who became a close friend of his, so close that she ended up loaning him money for this move, and we'll get there. She started telling me about their finances and what it is they do for work, because she was privy to all of this information because she was involved in the purchase of the home. She had to see the tax records, the income that was being claimed, all of this. And according to his social media, we know it says entrepreneur and musician. Not entirely a lie. He apparently creates beats, music beats, and he sells those between $200 to $300 a pop. She says that the majority of it is a cash business. He doesn't have any sort of business bank account. So everything would probably either be under the table cash, Venmo, PayPal, who knows. But she says that as far as what he claims, he only claims $10,000 a year to be made through that channel, or avenue, I should say. So if you're saying, she said roughly each beat would sell between 200 to 300, that's approximately, let's just get rounded out to about 250. That means that he's probably selling ballpark around 40 beats a year. So it's hard to verify because, again, he doesn't have any sort of business account set up, and there was no way to really verify anything other than what he had just claimed. However, she did confirm that the majority of their income, like so many suspect, is from fostering, and that is the primary bulk of their income, and that Jackie does not work, that she stays home with the children. So there we have the finances, we know, which I don't think is really news to anybody. I think we all kind of knew that they were relying on these children for a paycheck, and that's really what drove their income, but it has been confirmed. And she had, of course, the paperwork that backs that up. So as I said, they started to create this close bond. And the reason why is because initially when he wanted to buy this house, and I'm not going to go into all of the crazy nitty gritty with banks and loans, but the loan that he was looking to obtain was called a USDA loan. And what that loan requires is much less down payment. It's for people who maybe don't earn a ton of money. And it generally is positioned to where the sellers pay the closing costs. Well, because his income wasn't verified and a couple of other issues that went along the way, this house was supposed to close in 30 days, and it didn't close for 4 months. So over the course of those 4 months, they ended up, of course, talking regularly and establishing this friendship. Further, the relationship and friendship was established because apparently they had a lot of similarities, such as, and again, tell me what you think in the comments, but it was said that they really hit it off because they were similar in the sense that they were both very holistic, organic, and didn't use medication for anything, just very clean. My first question with that was, okay, well, what about the reports of all of the liquor bottles that were in the garbage can outside? Does that really lend with this lifestyle? I'm not well-versed enough in being organic. I'm not organic whatsoever, so I couldn't tell you, but it kind of seemed weird to me. As she was telling me about their relationship, she was, I don't want to say relationship, friendship. She was also saying, we would bond so much over that because we were both similar in that regard, unless he was just telling me what I wanted to hear, but it felt like we were very aligned. And when she asked him, okay, well, why do you want to move to Cal City? He said, I want to get off the grid. And those are his words exactly. He also said that he planned to plant his own garden to grow food at the property. Could be true. We don't know, but this is what was relayed. I'm seeing that somebody is saying holistic people do not drink alcohol. It's considered a drug. So again, something's just not right with this story. And as we get further in, you tell me what you think. I started to believe that maybe he was adopting to her views and what she's passionate about because he was going to have to cash in a favor later. But we'll get there. So he says that he wants to go off the grid and that he wants to plant his own garden, grow his own food, and do all of that. So they're bonding over this entire thing. Another piece that they reportedly bonded over was that he is very into conspiracy theories. And she says that they would talk endlessly about the different conspiracy theories and COVID, and particularly Pizzagate. I don't know if all of you are familiar with Pizzagate and what the details of that are, and you guys can throw it in the chat for those of you who are aware, but it does have to do with child exploitation and things of that nature. And I want to be clear though, as they were having these conversations, she says he was very against it and would always say, I can't believe people would do this. I can't believe this. But that they talked about it a lot. So much so that in 2 of the meetings in office, after they were done with all of their business work, he lingered around to chat and they talked about it for over an hour each time. That may not mean anything, but it also could be something. I don't know. You guys, again, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. So they're talking about, they're bonding over these 4 months, over being holistic, organic, the conspiracy theories, wanting to get off the grid, all of these things. And when it comes down to it, because they had to switch the loan type, it ended up being that the sellers were not paying the closing costs, that he had to pay the closing costs. So because of that, he was essentially tapped out when they went to close, and he had no money to pay for the move itself or for any furniture or anything like that. So she willingly loaned him money. And she says to me that she wasn't really even expecting to be paid back, and she wouldn't be mad if she had it been. She was hoping she, of course, would be, but that she wasn't going to be angry because she just really cared about him and thought that he was a good guy. And so she wanted to help out. So she loaned him $5,000. And that ties back to the Venmo exchange that we see. She says that he has paid her back so far $3,000. Of the $5,000, she says he's paid on time and that she has no reason to worry. Pretty nice lady. Pretty nice lady. Something that I found interesting, though, when it came time for closing and he went to the office to pick up his closing package, before the Venmo agreement was executed, he apparently, when he came to pick up that closing package, he dropped off a bunch of post-dated blank checks for her and said, hey, these are the checks with post-dating them. You can cash them when you, as the date shows and as we go, so I can pay back the loan. The next day, she called him back and said, hey, I'm looking at these checks, but you didn't sign any of these checks, so I can't cash any of them. And he said, I'm so sorry. I didn't even notice. I've never written a check before. I have no idea how checks even work. That was an error on my part. Let's go ahead and just do this through Venmo. And that's why then this whole Venmo payback method came about. So on the day of closing, he comes to pick up that package and he comes in the van with his whole family. And this was, I believe, it was roughly end of September, I believe. And so he comes with the van and he goes inside, picks up the package. And then she says, I really want to meet your family. Like, you've been talking about them. I want to meet them. So she goes out to the van and she speaks with Jackie, meets Jackie, and then she peeks in the back at the kids. And she described the van as, because, and I know we've seen pictures of it, it's a big white van. It's, what'd she say? A conversion van. So it's very private in the back. So she said when she looked, she couldn't really see the kids very well, and that there was no way for her to know if she saw the boys' faces in that moment, and no way to know how many children she did see. So still not a reported sighting of them. And then I started saying, okay, well, in all of your conversations, did you guys talk about the dynamic at home? Did you guys talk about homeschooling? Were they going back to in-person learning? What was going on with all of that? And she says they were doing, all of the children were doing at-home learning, and that was a big piece of everything, that they were going to be at home doing their school. That's why Jackie stays home and takes care of them, and that's the plan. Okay, sure, fine. Then, and we're going to get back to a little bit of this in a second, but all of this then unravels just, in the last few weeks. And she gets a phone call from him a little over a week ago. Apparently he tried to go by the office, but she unfortunately caught COVID, so she was out of the office. So then he called her. They had a 15-minute conversation, and she says that he was an emotional wreck and that he kept saying, my babies are out there, my babies are out there. But something else he kept saying that I found odd is, nobody is helping me look for them. Now I understand they are under a spotlight right now, and there's a lot of suspicion of their involvement. But to adamantly be saying that nobody is helping look for these boys is completely untrue, because we know everybody is out there searching for these boys. Their neighbors, nearby counties, people driving there, everybody's looking for these boys. So I thought that was a very weird comment to say. But it could be said if you're trying to gain sympathy from somebody to get them on your side, my babies are out there. Nobody's helping me. What do I do? Because it's almost like you're trying to keep your one ally that you have, in my opinion. He also has said that he has threats, and she is the one who advised him to board up the house. And she says, if that's what's happening and if there's vandalism, maybe you just need to board up the house. And she put him in touch with a handyman who is the handyman that came and boarded up the house on Tuesday. So then I'm sure you guys know where my next question was going. I was saying, okay, I need to talk to this handyman, because I need to know, did he ever go inside the house? Was there anything suspicious? Was the behavior suspicious? And more so, when he went inside the house, I want to know what those bedrooms look like, because it's reported that it's a 3-bedroom home with a little bit of an addition, and we'll get to all the specs when we start talking more home inspection. But I want to see, how were those bedrooms configured to house 3 kids in each? Was there enough room for a bunk bed and another twin, for 3 twins? How big were each of the rooms? And so I was hopeful that I could speak with this handyman. He would have walked inside and he could say, oh yeah, there were bunk beds here, this, that, to actually prove that at some point 6 children slept in that home, or it looked as though 6 children slept in that home. Unfortunately, the handyman never went inside. He boarded everything up from the outside, never went inside, and that was that. So still unclear with that. But then I still have the pieces of information, which I'll review with you from the home inspection, as far as the room sizing, what can fit, what can't, and we'll talk through that. So then, as we're going through this entire conversation, I start saying, yeah, because I'm confused. You know, he has 6 kids. I want to know how they all fit in that house. And it's definitely possible in some houses, depending on how big the rooms are. But did they ever mention to you what their plans were, as far as like, oh, well, my kids are going to share this room, or I'm going to do this? And she's like, what do you mean? The 6 kids? And I was like, yeah. She said, in July, roughly around July, she says, I distinctly remember him being in my office in one of our conversations and him telling me that he has 4 children, not 6. And she was very taken aback when she found out that he has 6 kids. And I asked her over and over, I'm like, are you sure that he wasn't just saying 4 adopted, or that maybe you heard wrong? She's like, no, it was not I have 4 adopted children. It was I have 4 children. Now, when I heard that, like I'm sure you guys right now, all of the hairs on my neck started standing up. And there's been a lot of speculation that something happened to these boys well before that move to Cal City. And unfortunately, I feel like this is one more kind of nail in that direction, so to speak. So she was definitely jarred by this. And she said, she's like, you know, I'm trying to be so helpful. I'm trying to do the right thing. A very nice woman. And she said, I can't imagine that he would be capable of this, but also I don't want to be blind. She's like, I thought it was interesting too, because when I had asked him why he's moving to Cal City, he had said to get off the grid and this whole thing about the garden. She's like, I didn't really even know where Cal City was, but around New Year's, I was in Vegas with my husband and we were driving back, and I had talked to him about all of this and everything that was going on. And he pointed out, because Cal City is on the way to Vegas, and he had said, you know, this is Cal City. And she's like, and I remember being like, what? Why would I move here? And no offense to anybody who lives there, but she had said, you know, like, it seems weird because there's nothing around. It's very desolate. Why would he choose to move here? Yes, he said off the grid, but she's like, then I started wondering, oh my God, could he have moved here because there was going to be something that had happened to those kids? And I'm sure at this point her wheels are just turning and she's emotional because she knows this person personally, but she started to become very shaken by this. So now let's just switch gears for a quick minute here and talk about the property information and what was learned through that conversation. So the 2 bedrooms are reported to be approximately 12 by 14 feet each. Maybe one of them is more of a square, 12 by 12. It is said that easily bunk beds could fit in there along with another twin, that it would be extremely crammed, but it is possible. The fireplace I had inquired about, I said, I want to know, is it in working order? Was there anything on the inspection report? Is this, you know, real? Could this be real? And he said, he pulled up the report as we were talking, went through everything, and then shared all of his files with me, that it is in working order, that it is I forget what he called it. It's like a gas fireplace. It's one where you don't have to use the papers or anything to ignite it. You put the wood burn in. It's okay, I can talk. You put the wood in there because it is wood burning, but then you have the gas assist, which is similar to the fireplace I have here actually. And then you use the match or the lighter, and then it ignites, comes up from the bottom and the grates to the logs, and he catches fire. Great. Okay. So then I started asking, okay, did you notice during the inspection any sort of secret rooms or any trap doors or anything like that? Which he said, no, but like, let me flip through all my notes and flip through all my pictures right now, and let me see if there's anything that stands out. So as we're on the phone, he's flipping through this stuff, and He says nothing stood out. He's like, I mean, I guess you could put one possibly in one of the closets, but that would only give you about a foot of crawl space, and then the hangers wouldn't really work. He's like, I don't think so. So as I started, after my conversation with him, as I started looking at more of these reports out there of people saying that previous owners have disclosed that that one of the garages was divided into 2 rooms, and that there was a door that looks like it's leading out to the backyard, but it really leads into a separate room, I started combing through all of the pictures, and I didn't save like single pictures on here. So I'm going to just kind of pull up the full gallery for you guys, and we're going to go through that so that you can see exactly what I'm saying. Some pictures aren't relevant, some are, but I started looking at the exterior, the interior, the garage, the addition, and all of that. So let me pull that up really quickly, and we can just kind of go through that together. Let's start with, I think this is the detached garage. Yes. And if you guys need me to go back to any of these images, just let me know. But I'm going to just kind of go through these for you. So this is showing the detached garage. And this is, again, right before they moved in. So this is move-in ready. Here you see it again at one of the doors that goes into it. You see the previous owners or tenants had left quite a bit of stuff behind. Here's the little side yard area, the rug, and then the entry to that garage, another little side area. Here's just stuff. They have to take these up close photos for inspection reasons to see if there's termite damage, water damage, anything like that. Structural damage, foundation issues, all of that. So I know some of these aren't relevant, but we're just going to go through all of them so that you can see all of these images. And this is just of this structure. I'll move into the next album as well. Here's the inside. You can see there's still some clutter in there. Doesn't appear there's any trap doors of anything, but I'm not an expert in trap doors, so I couldn't 100% tell you with certainty. And here's that door that goes outside. Couple more pictures at a wide glance. The roof and the neighboring lots, which right here you can see. And let's see if I can zoom in, actually. I think I can. It appears, we know he had talked about collecting wood, and we've only seen like twigs and branches and things of that nature. But depending on like what kind of logs he was looking for, it looks feasible that there could have been some wood collected on these side lots, possibly. Okay, now, and if you guys need me to go back to anything, of course, let me know. I'm going to go back in and let me share another one with you. We're going to do the other garage, and this is the one that has like 3 different doors. And so I had to look at the exteriors to see where they lead. So here's the front of the house and the garage. You can see, if I go back really quick, you can see the 3 doors. One here, here, and here. Now I'll show you in the exterior photos as well. This one here leads to the side yard. This one leads to the backyard. And I believe this one is the one that leads into the home. And you can see, we'll go through the exterior again so you can see all of those exit and entry points. I see some people are commenting about traps are in the ceiling. The ceiling stucco appears to be untouched. This is the cable line to the garage door opener. But again, I'm not an expert in how to make like panic rooms or trap rooms or anything. So I couldn't 100% say that either way. This is just showing the condition of the house. More of these, and then we'll move into the exterior. And so this is where I wanted to look and see, okay, where do all of those doors lead? But also I want to look more at that back patio, because I just find it still so interesting that it was such a point to mention that he wasn't going to allow them on the dirt, that they only played on that tiny little deck. I know there's a huge chalk conspiracy out there right now because there wasn't chalk and there wasn't chalk drawings, and then there was chalk, but we don't know if it was planted. So I just kind of wanted to see for myself, like, okay, what other images can we collect of the property itself? So here we just continue to go around the outside, and then here's where we start going to the back. So this is the side garage. This is that door in the garage where it leads out to the side yard and the window that was in the garage. You can see here a shot of both of them together. Some paint damage. Here's that back door that leads from the back of the garage out. Side gate. Interesting. Some more up-close shots of the condition of the property. And now here we start going over to the patio area. So we know that this bottom left corner is where the boys allegedly were playing with chalk. And it's interesting because in the photos that we've seen of their house currently, we know that there's those 2 chairs and that weird carpet out there too, similar to this, not the exact furniture, of course. But it's a very small space to play with chalk. And the way that those chairs in the current shot is they're positioned, it seems like it would be very crammed for 2 young toddlers to be, you know, going to town with chalk on the ground. There's just something still that is not sitting right with me about this story. And I know I'm not alone in that. So that's the little cement pad where they were playing with the chalk. More shots of the side. Some views here with the fence. And then quickly, just because I want to get your opinion also, once upon a time, a doggy door, I'm going to show you the interior. And the reason why is because one of my biggest questions, again, was the configuration of these bedrooms. Were there bunk beds? Were there 3 twin beds in each room? How were they splitting the rooms between 6 children? So measuring it, feasibly, it could work. It would be very, very tight, but it could work. So I want to share these with you and get your weigh in and what you think. Here's the infamous fireplace right here. And they also do have a little addition that could possibly be where somebody may sleep, and I'll show you guys that too. So here we see one of the bedrooms a little bit right here. And this is the one that is approximately 12 by 14. Wait a minute. So that room has 2 doors. Is that the room that goes to the garage? Am I saying that right, guys? Because you have this door that's the entry, but then if you're at the head of the bed, there's a door straight ahead, see? And then right here, you can see the side of the door. So there is a second door here. I wonder if that's the one that goes to the garage, but then there wouldn't be any door that goes into the house from the garage, which is interesting. I mean, maybe on an older style home, but that is odd. Okay, I'll keep going and you guys tell me what you think. Closet, maybe? I think you're right. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting ahead of myself, guys. Office space, another room. Sorry, these are all just damaged. All right, here's another room. So, I mean, again, I would have to fully measure everything and put it to scale, which I plan on doing. But just by eyeballing it, it would have to be on this wall and this wall, because you have the closet on this wall and you have another on this wall. So that would be a little bit of a tight squeeze, but it would be doable. All right, let me share the addition with you guys really quick. See if I have that pulled up. I should. There we go. Okay. So this is the room that's the addition. And there's only 2 photos of it, but you could see right here, it looks like that's like a little day bed of some sort, or a bed. But it looks almost like it's a sunroom, especially because of the slider. It's like a little game room, maybe. These are the only 2 pictures, so I'll just keep going back and forth. But that could be somewhere, of course, extra space. Okay, so as I continued talking through all of this, what really stuck out to me was, of course, and I'm sure to you, that comment that was made in July in the office, that he only has 4 kids. So I needed confirmation from more people. I needed to know when the last sighting was, anybody who had ever seen the kids. So I keep reaching out to people who are involved in this process. And one of the people has asked to really not be named and be involved because they don't want to jeopardize their career. And I respect that. But I will say that somebody who would have been with the family the day they moved in says that they remember seeing children playing in the backyard, boys, but I believe all 6 at this point have been reported to have been male, correct? But that he doesn't know how many were there in total, and he doesn't recall seeing anyone who looked to be very young, like a baby or a toddler or anything. But he says, but I wasn't really paying attention because I didn't even think I would be needing to pay attention to something like that. They were in the backyard playing. I was doing my thing with the parents, and that was that. But I thought it was interesting that for that whole period of the 4 months in which they're trying to close escrow on this house all the way to move in, nobody has any confirmed sightings of the boys. And also, there's actually a comment where he says, I have 4 children. I just don't like it. I just don't like it. Okay, let me see. I'm losing my train of thought here, guys. Sorry. I've been up since like 4 and I'm exhausted. Okay, let me go to the comments really quick while I kind of regain myself and see what you guys have to say. So these images they're not from right now. These images are, the previous family still lived there because these were taken from the home inspection report, which is done when you're in escrow before you move in. Show us the fireplace. Okay. Let me pull it up. So I did confirm that the fireplace was in working order. But let me pull this up so I can show you. Uh-oh. Oops. You don't need to see all of that. Okay. Okay. So this is the chimney and the fireplace. And he said it overall in his notes too, that the fireplace not only was in working condition, but it appeared to be very clean. There was no issue with the damper clamp. The flue was clean. And this is what I was talking about with the grate. So you put the logs or the wood or whatever in here, and then it's almost like a pilot starter here with gas. It's a gas wood burning. And so you light that, it ignites, and then once the wood catches, you turn the gas off and you have yourself a wood fire. Okay. Kathleen, So far, there is not any confirmation with that. That's what I was hoping that the handyman would be able to shed some light on, the one who boarded up the house on Tuesday, hoping that he had been inside of the house as well. But apparently he was completely outside the entire time, just boarding up from the outside. So it has yet to be confirmed from anybody if there were, in fact, 6 beds and if there was any discussion as to what the strategy was with the room configurations, because that information was never seen or told to any of the other parties involved. And not to say that normally they would have that information, because they wouldn't, but it's interesting that still nobody has confirmed that. Ariel is saying, what if the fire excuse is because they were trying to cover up the smell of cleaning products? That's one thing. My thought was because they weren't disclosing in that interview what the boys were wearing or anything like that, could the fire have been an excuse to burn evidence? It could be to cover up the smell, but I was under the impression, okay, could it possibly have been to get rid of evidence? Because also, I know we've talked a lot about the temperature and if it's cold, if it's not, which the desert gets cold in California. I live in California. I grew up in California. The desert gets cold. Even though we show the temperature was shown as to what it was and people being indifferent, I think it's weird that a fire would, and again, you tell me, personally, I think it's weird that somebody would begin lighting a fire while it's still light out. I've always, and that's just, again, could be personal preference, but anytime I've lit a fire in the house, it's usually when it's dark out, really, really cold. Very rarely is it when it's light out. Unless it's like the dead of winter and you're in like the mountains, but I don't know. That's just my opinion. Did California City have the house boarded up or West did? So I was told that it was West, and it was because this person who he developed this friendship with advised him based on what he was disclosing to her about the threats and the vandalism. She said, hey, you should board your house up. I have a handyman. He can do it for you. Let me get you his information. The handyman went on Tuesday and boarded up the house. And I've seen reports that now the Wests are in Florida. I can't confirm that or not. I'm not entirely sure, but that's something that I've heard, which, again, I don't want anybody to go off on a wild goose chase about this because it very well may not be true. But if they are in Florida, I understand wanting to get away from the attention in one regard, but also if your boys have not been found yet and you truly believe that they are missing or have been abducted, why on earth would you ever leave? Just my opinion. Whitney, I agree with you. I think that something may have happened a while ago to them. That's just what my gut is telling me, because I think should this story, even if something, let's just play devil's advocate for a moment here. And even if something happened to them that weekend, why have no family members, including the grandparents or anybody else, come forward to say, no, I saw them on Thanksgiving. I saw them on Halloween. Why have we not seen any Halloween pictures of what they were dressed up as? Why have we not seen any recent pictures of them? We know that their tech devices were seized and all she had access to were old photos. What about the cloud? What about the timestamps on that device that was seized? What's that going to show as the most recent photo taken of the boys? There are a lot of different missing pieces to this, to where that whole theory could be debunked in one clear swoop if somebody just says, I saw them, or there was proof of them. But everything else that we know and are seeing and are hearing is leading us to believe that's not the case. Diane saying that they do start fires in the daytime there. Okay, fair enough. My feeling is that those boys never got to the house in Cal City. The adoptive parents would not allow the bio mom to give them Xmas presents, and that's maybe because they were not there. There's a lot of weird stuff happening with those Christmas gifts, because we know that I don't want to say alibi, but their story is that she was inside wrapping gifts. If each child got one gift, and I don't think it's been confirmed how many gifts the other children got, but we know it was one gift for each of the boys and that it was an outfit, which, first of all, is the weirdest Christmas gift, in my opinion, to give a 3-year-old or to give a 4-year-old boy. But okay. it's not going to take her that long to wrap these gifts. Why does she have to wrap them at that moment and have her sons play outside? They're not going to see anything. She's going to throw an outfit in a bag and throw a piece of tissue on it. There's nothing that makes sense with that, especially too the story that they had on a Saturday gone Christmas shopping with the whole family. They went to Bakersfield to a mall or whatever it was, which we still have not seen any footage that proves that. But if that were the case, the kids, I would assume that if all of them went, it was because the kids were picking out their own Christmas gift, which, one, young boys are never going to pick out an outfit as a Christmas gift, but two, they would already know what they're getting, so you wouldn't need to keep them outside while you're wrapping the gift. Just my opinion. And why would he say she was actually wrapping presents? I agree. I completely agree. I mean, we all know, regardless just getting hung up on the Christmas gifts and the wrapping story and all this, we all know that there are so many holes in that. We never see Jackie leave the house to search, whether it's the backyard or the front yard. Once he goes on his 6-minute drive, we never see him come back to ask Jackie and check in. Hey, have the boys returned? Have you found them? Called the police. He just stands there by the tree for double the amount of time that he searched for the kids. We know that there is dishonesty happening. There is dishonesty happening. So I'm going to open this up just really quickly, guys, for panel. If anybody wants to call in and share their thoughts, because there are so many of you guys in chat right now, let's limit each person to 3 to 5 minutes, and we have to rotate people in and out. That is, if you do want to call in. And we'll keep that somewhat brief. But I want to let you guys know too, as I get more information, and I have several more calls out there right now that some people have actually said they're going to be calling me back tonight. I'll let you know. So check back, or if you haven't subscribed, hit subscribe and turn your notification bell on, because then you'll get an alert when I push out a new video or go live with more information. But I would expect more information to be coming in the next few days based on certain people that I have chatted with. So just throwing that out there. Unless, of course, I'm also told that I can't speak on the case anymore, like Bill Garcia, which we'll see. All right. S. Anderson, or is it Anderson? How are you?
Anderson. I was typing fast. Good. Hey, on those pictures with the garage, like from the inside, the garage that's attached to the house, the inside and the outside, are the two doors on the inside closer than what they seem like they are on the outside? Like maybe there's another room in the back of the garage before it goes out the back?
Well, let's pull these up and just double check really quick. So you're talking about the connected garage, correct?
Yes.
Let me pull up this one shot where we see all of the doors. And then
because the side door looks really close to the other door, but then if you go outside, they seem very far apart.
I see what you're saying. Okay, so you can see this on your end right now. Let me go and pull up on the exterior.
Plus, I think there's a window on the back side.
Sorry, this isn't loading. Let me go back to it. I don't think it's going to let me show both at the same time. Okay. Yes. Yes, you are right. Hold on. Let me go back and share my other screen. You're 100% right. I don't know how that wasn't caught earlier. Let me share this one. But I wonder if that goes back to the door within one of the bedrooms or something. But you're right. There's that window. And even if that were the other brown door, there would be something here. There's a large here. We need a bird's eye view. Hold on. Let me pull up Google Earth. there's got to be floor plans also. So tell me and tell everybody listening a little bit about, because you clearly are familiar with the theory that there's a hidden room somewhere. Can you just share a little bit about that?
Oh, I mean, there's just a lot of little different, I don't know, the whole house is just set up really weird. Like, in having additions on, a lot of times when you have additions on, you have empty spaces that could be hidden places. I mean, but I mean, based on a lot of the information that I have seen and read through, I mean, I really don't feel the kids were ever there. I mean, even when Chris Watts's case happened, I mean, when that all happened, he was panicked. I mean, you could tell it was like recent occurrence. These parents aren't panicked. They're not shaking, like, I don't know what to do kind of thing. It's like they're already past their emotions of what they've already done.
I agree. I think they appear to be very disconnected and very almost like they're trying to disassociate a little bit, which is why they never say their names. They never talk about them on more of a personal level. It's just very, very unsettling. I'm going to try to pull these floor plans and then I'll bring those up in just a minute once I can get those.
Okay.
Thank you so much for calling in.
Yep, you're welcome. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later. All right. Gelf. Hi, Gelf.
Hey, Annie, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I will say this, I did send you a super chat earlier, but thank you very much for standing up for me on Will's stream. That was
you're welcome.
Very emotional, very much appreciated. But I will say this, there is kind of a link back to that issue with those two morons. If you hear the way they speak, they don't care. For them, it's like, yeah, whatever, It's like pre-programmed thing they're just going through in their heads, ticking all the boxes to make it seem as though, as I said to Will, it seems as though they're lazy. They don't care about particularly getting caught one way or another because, as that last lady said, it obviously happened a while ago. So, in their brains, they've already got it all sorted out. That's what they're going to stick to. And, and it is weird that having two kids mysteriously disappear. I mean, hell, I'll admit, when I was younger, I took my dog for a walk, tied her up at the shops and, walked, because I had my friend with me and, walked off and left my dog there. It's like, holy hell, like 5 minutes later, you realize you rush back, you panicked as hell thinking, oh crap, is the dog going to be there or whatever, it's the same sort of thing. But to do that to like another human, no, you're not going to be, as you pointed out, basically robotic in your answers. It's disgusting.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
So, yeah. That's just my take on it, but yeah, I just figured I'd jump in and say thank you at least. And
you're welcome.
I'll hand the floor over to somebody else.
All right, talk soon, Bill.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, we have Aaron. Aaron.
Hey.
Hey.
The problem that I was thinking is if you got two kids in the backyard, we're in the room. And can you put up the picture of the backyard?
The picture of the backyard?
Yeah.
Sure. Let me pull it up. Did you want to see the one with the concrete pad where they would be drawing with chalk?
Yeah.
Okay, let me find it.
Okay. With those two kids will be all over the place. They will be in the area. So I could be wrong, but to me, that is odd for me because kids go everywhere. They won't stay in one little area.
You're absolutely right. The chalk would be everywhere. Any open spot on the concrete, they would be drawing. They wouldn't be segregated to one small area of the concrete. They would be going all over the place. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was that was odd for me. LT said that in the interview, but I don't know. I could be wrong, but that's what I think.
No, I think your instincts are right. I think it's hard enough to keep two young toddler boys to one area and on the concrete, but then to keep them even closer in on that concrete into one specific area is not likely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for calling in and sharing. I appreciate it.
No problem. Keep
Bye,
doing
Aaron.
what you do.
Oh, thank you. Bye. Okay, Rebecca.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I've never done this before, so
That's okay.
I had a lot to say, but one, I'm just in awe that you actually put yourself out there and call all these people, because I would be super embarrassed and I would not be able to do it.
I'm not gonna lie, it's a little nerve-wracking and my palms get a little sweaty, but I feel like I'm gonna believe it if I hear it for myself. So that's why I do it.
Yeah, understandable. So I guess my thing is, I'm sure that the police probably have a little bit more evidence than what they're actually saying. And I think they're holding it because they're trying to gather more enough to get a conviction or get the arrest, or whatever the term is. Because if they put it all out there, then they would be tipped off. Right?
Absolutely. And we see that in a lot of cases, not only holding information close to the vest because they don't want to tip anybody off who's a suspect, but also because they're still waiting on that concrete evidence and that smoking gun, because if they arrest them, they want to charge them. And so if they don't have enough of that yet, whether it's through the evidence they have gathered in their tech or on site, then maybe they are just, waiting to either for a slip up or for something else to be released.
Definitely. And also, I know everybody reacts differently with grieving or with something like this if you're missing your children. But I know that when my daughter was 4, she's 13 now, so it was a long time ago, she slipped out the door. I thought it was my husband at the time coming back in the door, so I didn't think anything of it. Probably within 3 minutes, I realized she was gone. I was outside. I would have looked like a crazy person if someone had me on camera. I wasn't just standing there. I was screaming. Within another 3 minutes, I called the police, and then they called me back. The dispatch called me back and said they actually had her. She was walking down the road and someone took her to the police station.
Oh my gosh, how lucky.
I live in a really small town where I lived there, and I was right by the police station, like a block away. But there's no way that I would have just been standing there. It was a long time ago, and I don't think anyone had a camera, but if anyone would have looked at that camera, you would have seen me running around like a crazy person.
100%. Just the fact that he walks so cavalier to the van, gets in, drives for 6 minutes, comes back, perches up at the tree. It makes no sense. You have empty lots surrounding you. While you're waiting for the police, you would see their lights or you would see them driving. You would be searching all of those areas. You wouldn't be waiting like a bump on a log for 13 minutes and your wife inside also not searching. It's very weird.
Definitely. So I just wanted to share that story, but
Thank you so much. And I'm glad that your story had a happy ending. That's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for calling in.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Okay, before we move to the next one, I just want to answer this quick question from Mallory. What about the fact that the West kept saying they are here, they are around here, maybe that way of distancing from the past areas they were in? I agree. And I had mentioned that in one of my earlier videos. I think that was one of the parts of the interview that really stood out to me as well, because he says, they're going to be here. They're going to be here. And then Jackie says they wouldn't wander off. They're not like that. But as a concerned parent, wouldn't you be saying, I don't know where they could be. They could have gone anywhere. We need to cast a wide net. We need to find them. Not, they're going to be right here. It's a matter of fact. They're going to be right here. I agree. It's all bad. Okay. Everyday shenanigans. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, I was resting. One of my viewers kind of sent me a message, and I don't know. I'm confused about the comment you all was making about the house being boarded up.
Hmm.
Some people in my live chat last night said that it was the police had done that. So maybe you could explain it to me again, what you had told your audience.
Yes. So, from what I was told by this person, he had called complaining that there was vandalism. He was receiving death threats. So, she advised him, you should have the house boarded up. I have a handyman who's great and who could do it and help you out. And this handyman went on Tuesday and boarded it up. And when I reached out today to ask if they had been in the house, he said, no, we had to do everything we had to do outside. We had to board the house from the outside and whatnot. So, unless the police department also participated and boarded something up, it seems by these accounts that it was the Wests doing, and they enlisted the help of this man to come and do that.
So you spoke to the guy who helped board it up?
I spoke with the woman who gave who is
the
friends with
information?
the handyman, and then she was following up with him and talking with me at the same time.
Okay, because that was I think it was another YouTuber who had said in his live that the police had came and boarded up. See, this is why I hate this, because there's so much gossip running around on Facebook and everything. You don't really know what to believe with these people. I mean, because nothing has a receipt that I've seen pertaining to this family and this storyline.
I would imagine, because there's so many people canvassing the area and standing out front of that house, that there's pictures, I'm sure, that will surface of whoever was doing the boarding. 100%. There's got to be pictures.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great night.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Sorry, guys. I have these weird sunspots from the window hitting my face. Okay. Hey, Miranda. Welcome to the stream.
Hello. How are you? I'm
doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm well. So it's funny that you just shared Mallory's comment, because that was kind of my point. They're going to be here, and it kind of tied to what I was going to say in addition to that, of them supposedly being in Florida. If that comes to be true, it kind of reminds me of Casey Anthony, where, her daughter's missing, but she's not, not a care in the world. She's not trying to find her. She's out, partying and getting tattoos and whatnot. So, if my child, I have 2 children, and I'm sure a lot of viewers, I know you have children and other people do. My child, for 2 minutes, I don't know where he's at in the house, and I'm panicked.
I agree.
I'm like, oh my gosh, where are you? Are you okay? And he's still in my home. I couldn't imagine if, I don't know, and there wasn't a tear shed on that interview, and that just made me feel so, there was a pit in my stomach. How is there no emotion whatsoever? And that, rocking back and forth, I'm like, something's up. Their body language says it all.
Absolutely. And I think it's so important that you say that too, because what reminds me of the Casey Anthony piece as well is that Kaylee wasn't reported missing until much later, after something had happened to her as well. And you're right, there was absolutely no emotion. The entire interview is very, very bizarre. They're very stoic. They're very cold.
Very cold, and it seemed rehearsed. He was like, I was putting the wood in, and this.
Oh, I know. It was cold out. That's exactly, he's all, it was cold out. I was grabbing the wood. And that story of maybe losing sight of your children for a few minutes might be more believable if the other 4 kids were in the house as well, and they really had their hands full with these 6 children, and they weren't their eyes weren't on the boys because they were wrapping gifts. They had the 6 kids. He was getting wood, but the 4 kids were out of the house. They had just the 2. It seems like the atmosphere would be relatively quiet enough to where you would notice something.
And I honestly, I didn't even think of this, but I believe his name was Aaron that was just on. I have a toddler. You cannot tell them to stick to one area of anything. It's just not going to happen. I don't care how good your kid is or how much.
I agree. I have a toddler myself. It doesn't matter whether he's playing or eating. That shit is going everywhere.
Yeah, that's facts. No matter what, especially with chalk. It's everywhere. And I don't know. I watched the interview, and my first time watching anything on this case with you was yesterday. So I believe you did a different video prior. So my first time listening to all of it was yesterday. And I was like, something isn't right. It just and the mom, I understand, like, sometimes it might be a little bit of a stereotype, but dads can be more like go, 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 and moms can be more emotional. But that mother, I'm looking at her and I'm like, your babies are missing. Like, what,
Mhm.
there's nothing. And his, like I said, his story sounded just like that, a story, a performance. Like,
I agree. And she would chime in though when there were key words to almost kind of help guide him through the story. Like when they're like, okay, the reporter says at the beginning, okay, tell me what happened. She's like, the yard. And then he's like, I was in the yard. It was cold. Like there's just so, and there's a bunch of different pieces like that. And we could do a full interview analysis and be here all day because there's so much to talk about. But like there were many times where she is leading him by what to say or shaking her head because he screws up, or when he first drops the word rambunctious and he gets mad at himself and he's like, oh, like the whole thing is just, and the body language is Chris Watts to a T.
To a T. That's the first thing I thought when I saw that. The rocking back and forth. Chris was so panicked and nervous, and I don't know. My main thing though was about how he said they're gonna be here. How kids, how would you, I just feel like that was like if anybody should look at that, they should say they're not there. They're somewhere else. They're like, there's no way.
Well, and something else that I had mentioned, not in my video yesterday, but in one of my friends' lives, my friend the Glare was going live. And I said in that interview too, something I picked up on that struck me as odd is when the mom was saying that they wouldn't just roam off or wander off. She says, she stops her and she's like, so, I believe they were picked up. Putting myself in that position, even if that's where I was going with it, I wouldn't phrase it that way. I wouldn't, and you guys tell me what you think. I would have been like, they were taken, not so they must have been picked up. No, so they must have been taken. That's the more natural progression of that sentence. Unless, it seems so weird, certain words that they're using.
I agree. That's very odd to say they were picked up. Like,
they were taken.
Yeah, or they were kidnapped, or somebody grabbed them. Like, I don't know. That just sounds, I don't know. I don't know. I just wanted to give my 2 cents because certain things I'm like, but the cops are smart and hopefully they picked up on these things too. And I'm hoping that they focus their efforts in a wider area than just there, because maybe hopefully where they were prior to the move, that should be the starting point. I think that land, wherever they were.
Yep, I agree.
But yeah, I just wanted to share. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. Thanks so much for calling in.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye. All right. We've got Lady. Oh, look at that cute pupper.
Hey. Can you hear me, Annie?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Annie. I just subscribed because I'm so glad I found your channel, because I'm so into stuff like this. And I actually started following this story the day of the interview with the parents. And it gave me chills because just like everybody else, we're watching these people on the news with no emotion and everything like that. But, just like Miss Anderson said, and you said, they may have did something so long ago that their emotion already completely left their body. Now, there's 2 things that a lot of people are not talking about. I don't know if you guys saw this, and I know I'm not bugging out because I actually screenshotted it the first day they actually posted it. The West family on that Medium blog that they set up. I don't know if you guys went to the Medium blog and actually read those blogs, but the very first blog that they put up there was in bold letters when he said both the parents and the adoptive parents need to be investigated for this tragedy. Now, the words that he used in that blog gave me chills because it made me feel like, for some reason, the immediate family knows a little bit more than what they're telling. And like on January 3rd, they immediately took that one blog off and they changed it and phrased it differently. I don't know if you guys, if anybody in the live right now peeped that, but the blog completely changed. It went from, the parents and the adoptive parents need to be investigated, to, we're getting death threats and all this other stuff from people all over the or I guess all over the country. That's what they're saying. This is another thing that gave me chills. I watched AV Watchman's video of when he took the drive to Cal City, and he spoke to the neighbor that lived directly behind their house, directly behind the backyard of their house. You could tell she's kind of like one of them nosy neighbors where you can't get nothing past her. For her to say that she's been living there for 20 years and she has never ever seen a child at home, that's very telling. That goes to show that those children never showed up to that house. And a lot of people are not really talking about her interview. I don't know if a lot of people haven't seen the interview, but they're not talking about that interview that lady that lives directly behind them. You can see, if you pull up the aerial view, you see her pool, you see her backyard is directly behind the West home. She can see everything from her backyard. She can hear everything from her backyard. So for her to say that those kids never, ever, ever were in that home, none. She said none, not even the other four, that they have the two, I guess it's two actual dick children, and then the other two adoptive kids. She said she's never seen not one child.
So
And then
I agree with you.
My last thing.
I agree with you. I heard that and I agree. It's a huge red flag. And not to say that I'm on anybody's side here, but just playing devil's advocate really quickly, because of that conversation that I had with his friend this morning about how into conspiracy theories he is and how he was very into COVID and very scared of COVID. I could understand, because he even said in the interview, because of the pandemic, they didn't allow the kids out. We know that they were fully being homeschooled 100%. I could see where maybe he kept them inside, but it's weird that he wouldn't allow them in the backyard to play, at least, because that would, be the reason you upgrade from an apartment to a house for a yard and for more space. But I could see, because of that, where maybe there was a little bit of worry or fright to let them outside, but not in the backyard. They would, of course, go out and play. That's the whole reason you buy a house.
Now, Annie, I don't have no kids. I have a teenager and 4 dogs. I live in a house. I can hear the children across the street from me in the house across the street from me, even them being inside.
Mm-hmm.
So even if they're in the house due to the pandemic, you still hear these kids playing, jumping, screaming. Kids play fight all the time. You're going to hear these children. For them to not hear not even a peep come out of that house, did they have them trapped in there like slaves or something like that? Because it completely doesn't make any sense. And the last point that I wanted to make was, oh God, I completely got thrown off. But those were the 2 points that I wanted to make, was just the neighbor in the backyard, that it gave me chills for her to say that she's never, ever, not even have heard any kids, forget about seeing kids. She haven't even heard a peep from that house. And then just the blog, for them to put that blog up in bold letters, each parent, the adoptive and the bio parents, need to be investigated. And then so take it down as quick as he took it down, that kind of gave me red flags too, as to what do you guys know that's going on with these people.
I completely agree with you. I think those are all extremely valid points, and you raise amazing questions.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to continue. I subscribed and I put that notification bell up because I want to follow this case. And I pray that we find these little boys. But I'm going to be honest with you. I've cried about it. These little boys are gone. They're gone. And I know all of us know this. People did something to these kids. And it's so sad and tragic. And at least, hopefully, we can at least find them so that they can have that proper burial. Because we already know that something happened to these kids. That's no question about it. And regardless of how you see them on TV with no emotion or whatever, I feel like, that was the last point. I feel like they moved to Cal City, to that remote area. Like he was telling you, the person that you spoke to get off the grid, is because they already committed their act. So now they was trying to go and hide somewhere where not many people knew them, and they could just live without this happening. And I guess some type of guilty conscience came up, or maybe the bio mother kept asking to see her kids, or something happened, that now they had to come up with this story of them disappearing from the yard.
I know, that's why it's so.
Let's continue to pray. Annie, you're doing great.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a great night, and thank you for calling in.
You.
Such a great point. We need to know the last confirmed sighting, not only of the boys, but I know we saw the kids get into the van on the 19th, but we need to know from somebody who saw them, who interacted with them, what were they acting like? What was the state of were they injured? Did they have bruises? I mean, there's so many questions, and I can't imagine why not a single person has been able to speak out on that. Hi, Donna. How are you? Welcome to the stream.
Fine, how are you?
Good, thank you. Yeah, you're a little bit echoey.
What?
You're echoing a little bit.
Am I okay now?
Mhm.
All right. My question is, how much have the bio parents and the bio family been checked out in this? My parents were foster parents for like 30 years. So a lot of the things I see in chat, I know isn't necessarily the way it goes. And that's why I was wondering how much they've been checked out. I don't even know.
I wouldn't be able to confirm 100% because everything that has been shared with me or that I've come across is at this point mostly speculation. I believe that that everybody has been questioned, but I don't know if they're actively looking into their history, their connections, their relationships. I would imagine that they are. I know there has also been a lot of questions coming up as far as why they have created a GoFundMe, but then some people are saying it's for expenses to get. There's mixed reasoning and opinions out there, so I wouldn't be able to say conclusively one way or another that I do believe they have been fully vetted and investigated.
Yeah, that's what I wondered because it's very hard to get permanent custody of a child away from a mother. And I don't know how the mother knew where these children were because normally you do not.
So again, what I've just heard, and I don't know what is fact because I haven't seen paperwork myself on this. I have been told, I was under the assumption in the beginning of all this when I first heard about the case that she put the boys up for adoption for whatever personal reasons, but I have since learned or have been told and suggested that she lost custody due to the environment and certain things that were taking place inside the home. But again, I can't confirm one way or another because I don't have any sort of CPS reports in my hand. I don't have any sort of documentation that's in black and white.
No. Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you very much.
Of course, thank you so much for calling in. Thank you, T. Proco, for the super chat. I appreciate it. And you are very welcome. Okay, Tiffany. Hi, Tiffany. You might be on mute. Uh-oh, it looks like maybe your audio is not connecting. No. Maybe try to call back in. Okay, guys, so obviously a lot of heated opinions. Everybody's invested in this case. I know the majority we took a poll in my last video. I had you guys throw some numbers in the chat as far as what you believe. If you believe something may have happened to the boys long before the move to Cal City, if you think something transpired in the last few months, or if you believe this story is accurate as Trezell and Jacqueline West are stating. So let's go ahead and do that one last time. So just so we can kind of level set and see where everybody's at. If you believe, and before you type your answer, let me go through all three. If you believe that something happened to the boys and it was foul play before the move to Cal City, please put a 1. If you believe that something such as foul play happened within the few months that they have been at this new house, press 2. And if you believe that the story that Trezell and Jackie have stated and all of that is true and fact, and this is just a horrible circumstance, put a 3. See a lot of 1s. I haven't seen any 2s or 3s yet. Honestly, and look, I'm just going to keep it real with you guys. I get that my last 2 videos and this video, we're talking about everything that really debunks what the parents are saying. We're talking about the shady interview. We're talking about this. I hope I'm wrong. And not because I wouldn't be remorseful for railroading these people. Not that I feel like we are railroading them. We're just calling out the obvious and trying to figure out what's real and what's not. But I hope the kids are alive somewhere and recovered, because that would be the absolute best outcome in this entire situation. Siren Jag 3 minus 2. You're making me do math, huh? I know. You know what changes for me a lot? I'm going to put this up on the screen, and I just want to briefly talk about it. A lot of people are suggesting this. A lot of people are suggesting that it was a money move and that there was something related to that. God, I hope not. I really, really hope not. Okay. Yes, Barbara. Okay, I'm going to put this on the screen because this is what I had heard as well. But again, I have not seen actual concrete evidence proof. But yes, this is what I was told after my recent video as well. And I believe that the reason, if this did happen prior to the move to Cal City, I believe that the reason this is circulating now is because they, they had things to answer for. Where are the boys during Christmas? If the bio mom is trying to see them for Christmas or give gifts, it's the holidays. There's a lot to answer for. You can only keep them isolated for so long and homeschooled for so long. At some point, you are going to have to answer as to where they are. Thank you so much for the super chat. Hesa Akoda, I hope I said that right, and I apologize if I didn't. Okay, guys, as I mentioned, I will continue to keep you updated. I should be getting some updates either later on tonight or early tomorrow. Oh my gosh, in fact, I have 6 missed calls, so maybe sooner than we thought. So if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell to on so that you get notified of new updates and videos, and let's push this information out there. Please give it a like for the algorithm to help it go, and comment below once we end this stream what you believe happened, what you believe the reason is for why he told his friend in July that he only has 4 kids. What possible reason could there be for that? Thank you so much, Viper. I really appreciate it. Why would that comment have been made? It does not sit right with me. It seems very odd. The off-the-grid comment seems very odd. There is a lot of weirdness. I just don't like it. And again, remember, when he called in this emotional state just a week ago, this phone call, this 15-minute long call, he says, nobody is helping me search for them. Nobody is helping me find my boys. That isn't true. Hello? Everybody is trying to help you right now. So there's just a lot of things that are really making me not happy and not feel good. Yes, there was 1 gift for each of the boys under the tree, I believe. Okay, guys, have a great night. Stay safe. I will keep you updated, and we will all talk soon. Bye. Have a great night.